Here are 10 easy examples of basic conversations that we have in Spanish. Our first conversation is going to take a look at the supermarket. Hola, ¿vas a comprar muchas cosas? No, solo pan, leche y huevos. ¿Ya viste las ofertas? Sí, la fruta está barata hoy. Perfecto. Voy a llevar plátanos. So let's take a look. Hi, are you going to buy lots of things or many things? This idea of vas a comprar is ir plus a plus infinitive. That's what we call the informal future, and it's probably the way that we speak in the future 90% of the time in Latin America. You may have heard something like comprarás, which is the simple future, whereas this is the informal future, and we use it most times in Latin America. So it's an easy formula you can follow, just ir plus a plus infinitive. Hola, ¿vas a comprar muchas cosas? No, solo pan, leche y huevos. Solo in this case means just. It can also mean only. No, solo pan, leche y huevos. No, just bread, milk, and eggs. ¿Ya viste las ofertas? Did you already see? Remember that ya means already, can also mean now, can also mean stop. Ya can mean many different things. And I talk about it inside my Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy, which you can check out by clicking the link in the video description. And I've also made videos about it here on this channel. ¿Ya viste las ofertas? Ofertas could be translated as offers or deals. Sí, la fruta está barata hoy. Yes, the fruit is cheap today. Perfecto. Voy a llevar plátanos. You can use llevar meaning to take, or in this case, to buy. Now, plátanos here in Mexico mean bananas. If you want to say plantains, you would say plátano macho. Okay, so we have plátano, banana, plátano macho, plantain. All right, let's move on to the next conversation. Now let's imagine we're at school. ¿Tienes clase hoy? Sí, tengo matemáticas a las 8. ¡Qué temprano! Forgot an exclamation. Yo entro a las 9. ¿Qué clase tienes primero? Historia. Me gusta mucho. Okay? ¿Tienes clase hoy? Do you have class today? Yes, I have math at 8. Matemáticas. Tricky word. A las 8. Here, I didn't add any extra context, meaning this could be in the morning or this could be at night. However, we can basically understand that we're going to have math class at 8 in the morning and not at night. So I could have said something like, sí, tengo matemáticas a las 8 de la mañana, por ejemplo. ¿Qué temprano? How early? Yo entro a las 9. Okay, entro we use when we're talking about we go into class or we go into school. Yo entro a las 9 de la mañana, por ejemplo. ¿Qué clase tienes primero? What class do you have first? Historia, history. Me gusta mucho. I like it a lot. All right, let's move on to the next conversation. All right, now let's imagine that we're at a coffee shop. ¿Qué vas a pedir? Un café con leche. ¿Y tú? Solo un té verde. ¿Tienes hambre? No mucho. Ya desayuné. So, ¿qué vas a pedir? Pedir means to order, but it can also mean to ask for something. Now, it's not like to ask a question. It's to ask for something. So, hacer una pregunta is to ask a question. Por ejemplo, Maestro, tengo una pregunta. I have a question. Whereas with pedir, I wouldn't say, Maestro, quiero pedirte algo. That sounds like I'm saying, Teacher, I want to ask you for something. This could be a favor or a physical object, okay? But we can also use it as order. ¿Qué vas a pedir? Un café con leche. A coffee with milk. And you? ¿Y tú? Notice how tú has an accent over it. That's because tú without an accent over it means your. Now, tú and tú are pronounced exactly the same. The way that we tell the difference between the two when we're speaking with someone is based off of context clues. However, in writing, we'll add the extra accent, not because it changes the pronunciation, but because it lets us know that this means you and not your. Okay? Solo un té verde. So just or only a green tea. Now, once again, notice the accent on té. The pronunciation of té and té is the same. It doesn't change, okay? Té without an accent means you. However, té with an accent means tea. Once again, based off of the context, I understand that we're talking about tea and not you. Because it wouldn't make sense for me to say, just a green you. I would say, just a green tea. Okay? But in writing, I'll put that extra accent mark just to let us know that we're talking about tea and not you. ¿Tienes hambre? Are you hungry? Notice how in Spanish, I don't say, ¿Estás hambre? Are you hungry? That's incorrect. You would say, ¿Tienes hambre? Do you have hunger? Okay? We use that for hunger. We use it for thirst, right? ¿Tienes sed? That's, are you thirsty? Or, tengo frío. I'm cold. Or, tengo calor. I'm hot. Okay? No mucho. Ya desayuné. Not really. I already ate breakfast. Remember, that tiny word ya is very powerful. Already, okay? Desayuné. El desayuno means breakfast, and that's a noun. However, here we have a verb, desayunar. Desayuné. I ate breakfast. And just like in English, the verb desayunar means to break the fast. Ayunar is to fast, and desayunar is to break that fast, right? To unfast. Let's move on to the next conversation. Now let's talk about the weather. Hace calor hoy. Sí, demasiado. ¿Te gusta el verano? Me gusta, pero prefiero la primavera. Yo también. ¿Vamos por un helado? Buena idea. Vamos. Okay, so when we're talking about heat in general, right? It's hot outside. We do not say es caliente or está caliente. We would say hace calor. Okay, very careful, because if you want to say that I am hot, right? Oh my gosh, I'm sweating, I'm hot. You wouldn't say estoy caliente, you would say tengo calor, because estoy caliente sounds like you're hot and bothered. Not hot, like, oh my gosh, I'm so hot right now. Okay? Hace calor hoy. Sí, demasiado. Demasiado can mean too much, okay? Too much, or yeah, it's too much. Typically, demasiado is used in a negative sense. It's something that's not nice. Okay? Oh, hace demasiado calor, or tiene demasiado azúcar. It's too much sugar. Okay? Typically, it's used in a negative sense. Hace calor hoy. Sí, demasiado. ¿Te gusta el verano? Do you like summer? Me gusta, pero prefiero la primavera. I like it, but I prefer the spring. Yo también. So here, if I want to say me too, or I also prefer the spring, I can just say yo también. Because I'm saying prefiero, it's kind of like I'm saying yo también prefiero la primavera. I also prefer spring. Okay? ¿Vamos por un helado? Should we go get an ice cream? Buena idea. Vamos. Good idea. Let's go. Now, you might be familiar with the phrase vámonos. Well, this is actually a command, and we're adding on the reflexive pronoun. The reason that we add on a reflexive pronoun is to provide extra emphasis. So, vamos can mean let's go, we are going. Whereas vámonos can mean come on, let's go. There's more emphasis. Let's go, let's go. Or it can also mean let's leave. Vámonos. Let's leave. Let's get out of here. All right, now let's talk about some basic weekend plans. ¿Qué vas a hacer el sábado? Quiero ir al cine. ¿Y tú? Tal vez vaya al parque. Genial. Espero que te la pases bien. It's there. You didn't see anything. Okay, so what are you going to do on Saturday? Notice why I don't say en sábado. That's because in Spanish, when I say el sábado, I'm talking about on Saturday or the Saturday. Whereas los sábados would be on Saturdays or the Saturdays. So, el sábado, singular. Los sábados, plural. Okay? ¿Qué vas a hacer el sábado? So don't say en sábado. It's incorrect. Say el sábado. Quiero ir al cine. ¿Y tú? I want to go to the movie theater. And you? So what's going on with al? Well, that is simply a plus el put together. So you may have seen the popular franchise, Del Taco, right? Del is the word de and el put together, right? It just sounds better to say del instead of saying de el. Same thing with a el. It's easier to just say al, okay? Quiero ir al cine. ¿Y tú? Now, when it comes to a feminine word like la fiesta, I would just say quiero ir a la fiesta. Whereas with masculine singular, it'll be al. Quiero ir al cine. Tal vez vaya al parque. We're seeing it again here, right? It's not a el parque, it's al parque. And what about vaya? What is that? Well, vaya can mean wow or no way. Vaya, like vaya, ¿qué es vaya? But here, the reason we're using vaya is because it's the subjunctive. So we're speaking in the present tense, but it's the subjunctive mood. If you don't know about subjunctive or you don't even know what moods are, don't worry about it and don't freak out about it. This is for advanced students. The idea here is that there is doubt. He's saying, maybe I'll go to the park. Maybe, it's a possibility. There's doubt, and therefore I say vaya instead of voy. Genial. Espero que te la pases bien. Cool. I hope you have a good time. We're seeing the subjunctive here again because the phrase espero que almost always triggers the subjunctive in Spanish. Now, these object pronouns are pretty tricky. We have an indirect object pronoun. We have a direct object pronoun. All you need to know is that this is a common phrase we use if we're telling someone, hey, have a good time. Espero que te la pases bien. I could also say something like, me la pasé bien anoche. I had a good time last night. All right, now let's imagine we're at work. ¿Ya terminaste el proyecto? No, todavía no. ¿Necesitas ayuda? Sí. ¿Tienes tiempo? Sí. ¿Puedo ayudarte? Okay. So, ¿ya terminaste el proyecto? Did you finish the project already? No, I still haven't. Okay. You don't need to say, no, yo todavía no. You can just say, no, todavía no. Todavía meaning still. It can also mean yet, depending on the context. Also, let's talk about this real quick. Terminaste is the preterite. Remember that in Spanish, we can speak in two different ways in the past. The most common ones, right, are the preterite and the imperfect. Okay, those are the two most common. So, ya terminaste, right? One-time action in the past. Terminabas would mean ongoing action in the past. So, terminaste, you finished. Terminabas, you were finishing or you used to finish. Okay, so here, it's a one-time action. Did you finish the project? Okay. No, todavía no. ¿Necesitas ayuda? Do you need help? Sí. ¿Tienes tiempo? Do you have time? Now, for the word time in Spanish, you can say tiempo for time, or you can say la hora. ¿Tienes la hora? Do you have the time? Or ¿qué hora es? What time is it, for example? Okay, but in this case, I'm saying, hey, do you have time to help me? So in that case, we would use tiempo. Finally, sí, puedo ayudarte. Now notice, what the heck? There's a little te at the end of ayudar. Okay, this is what we call a direct object pronoun because ayudar is directly affecting this object pronoun, which is you. Okay, now the golden rule for using object pronouns in sentences is to put them before the first conjugated verb. So now, te goes from here all the way to in front of puedo. So you can say either or, and they both mean the same thing. So you can say, sí, te puedo ayudar. Sí, te puedo ayudar. Or you can say, sí, puedo ayudarte. They both mean the same exact thing, and it's just your personal preference where you put the te in the sentence. Now let's talk about a conversation at home. ¿Qué quieres cenar hoy? ¿Pizza? Otra vez, no. Comimos pizza ayer. ¿Pasta? Va. Con una ensalada. Okay? So, what do you want to have for dinner tonight? Cenar is a verb. Okay? Cenar, to eat dinner. So, what do you want to have for dinner tonight? Pizza? Otra vez, again? No. Comimos pizza ayer. We ate pizza yesterday. Remember, this is preterite, so it's we ate, right? It's not we were eating or used to eat, we ate. That's the difference between preterite and imperfect, okay? No, comimos pizza ayer. Pasta? Va con una ensalada. So you might have heard people in Spain say something like vale, but in Latin America, you could just say something like va, which means okay, sounds good. Ways that you can agree with someone could be okay, va, está bien, me parece bien, or you can even say something like va que va. Va que va. That's like an optimistic way to say, yeah, that sounds good. Va que va. All right, let's move on to the next conversation. All right, now let's pretend we're at the doctor's office. ¿Qué te duele? La garganta y tengo fiebre. ¿Desde cuándo? Desde ayer en la noche. Vamos a revisarte. Okay, so, ¿qué te duele? What hurts you or what aches you? What pains you? If you work in the healthcare field, it's very important you know this word. Dolor, meaning pain, and doler is the verb. So in this case, ¿qué te duele? What is paining you or what is aching you? La garganta y tengo fiebre. My throat and I have a fever. You could say la garganta, you could also say mi garganta. Both work. La garganta y tengo fiebre and I have a fever. ¿Desde cuándo? Since when? Now, notice there's an accent over the A in the word cuando. This actually doesn't change the pronunciation at all. We simply do this when we're asking questions. So with words like cuando or que or como, we'll put accents over the vowels in these words when we ask questions. The pronunciation actually stays exactly the same, but it's just to provide extra context in writing. ¿Desde cuándo? Since when? Desde ayer en la noche. Since last night. Okay? Vamos a revisarte. We're going to review you. We're going to check on you. Okay? Once again, we're seeing that object pronoun being attached to the end. So, like we had learned in the previous conversation, we can just do this. Put it before the first conjugated verb. So now we can say, te vamos a revisar. Both work. Vamos a revisarte or te vamos a revisar. Both work. All right, now this could be a first day at work or at school. ¿Eres nuevo aquí? Sí, es mi primer día. Bienvenido, me llamo Laura. Gracias, soy Nate. ¿De dónde eres? Soy de Colombia. Okay, really basic conversation. So, are you new here? Yes, it's my first day. Welcome, my name is Laura. Notice how we can say soy or me llamo. Me llamo literally translates to I call myself or I call me Laura. Okay? Gracias, soy Nate. I am Nate. Soy can mean I'm or can mean am. So yo soy and soy, pretty much the same thing. And remember that native speakers often will not attach subject pronouns onto verbs. So they won't say yo soy, tú eres, él es. They will just say soy, eres, es. That is why context clues are so important in Spanish. ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? Literally, of where are you? Soy de Colombia. I'm from Colombia. Literally, I am of Colombia. All right, let's move on to our final conversation. And finally, let's ask for some basic directions. Disculpe, ¿dónde está el banco? Está en la esquina. Caminando, ¿cuánto es? Como 3 minutos. Gracias. Okay? So, excuse me. Now, we have 3 different ways we can say excuse me in Spanish. We have disculpe, perdón, and permiso. So, perdón is when you're walking by someone and you accidentally bump into them. Okay? Ay, perdón. You can also use it to get someone's attention, but it's better to use something like disculpe, which would mean like, hey, excuse me, disculpe, joven, right? That's how we say, excuse me, waiter, or young man, please help me. Disculpe, okay? Excuse me, we're trying to get attention, okay? Perdón, perdón, I bumped into you. Pardon, excuse me. And permiso is when you're trying to walk by people. Let's say you're in a busy area. Permiso, okay, excuse me, I'm trying to get by, okay? So, permiso, ay, perdón, disculpe. That's good how you can do it, okay? Ay, permiso, excuse me. Oh, perdón, sorry, I didn't mean to bump into you. Disculpe, excuse me, wait, disculpe. Okay? ¿Dónde está el banco? Está en la esquina. It's on the corner. How far is it walking? You can just say cuánto es. You don't need to say qué tan lejos está. You can say that, but you can just say How much is it walking? Caminando cuántas? Como 3 minutos. Okay, like 3 minutes. Okay, gracias. And gracias a ti por ver hasta el final de este video. If you want to learn more Spanish from me, click the link in the video description to join our Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. We have more than 200 members. It is seriously awesome, and you can check it out by clicking the link in the video description. Muchas gracias y espero que tengas buen día. Hasta luego.